Now for unit 2, we have this one thing, that is attributes of law and legal process. Now we have already studied these functions of law and things like that. Okay, this is somewhat related to it. Attributes basically mean like features, okay, features of law or attributes of law. So what are the attributes of law and legal process? First of all, it is equal application of laws. If there is a law, it will be equally applicable to all the people who are living in that jurisdiction. If a law is applicable in India, same law will be similarly applicable to all the people living in India. That is equal application of the laws.
Okay.
Binding force. Laws will be binding on us. It will even provide for the consequences. If we are not following the law, what will happen? All right. So in order to ensure this binding nature, right, law will also provide for the punishment or the sanction. What will happen if we are not following the law? That also will usually be mentioned in the law. So it will have a binding force on the people to whom it applies. Then precedents are binding. In India, apart from the laws which are passed by parliament or state legislature, even judicial decisions or precedent. Decisions given by High Court or Supreme Court are also having binding nature. So when we talk about laws, it also would include the precedents, the guidelines laid down in certain landmark decisions. Those are also binding on us, just like how a law is binding. Okay, so we need to obey those obligations as well. So in case there is like absence of a legislation on certain matter, might be guidelines will still be applicable. Like we have something called as Witness Protection Scheme 2018. That is not a law, but that scheme was approved by the judiciary in a given decision. But we accept it, it is binding on us. The guidelines laid down in DK Basu case, those are still followed. Why? Because precedents are binding in India. Then regulates different aspects. We have different laws or different legislations to talk about different like areas. Okay, like we have a law related to income tax, we have bunch of laws related to protection of environment, we have bunch of laws to provide us protection from the crimes that may be committed against us. Like that, there are different laws to regulate different aspects of our life as well. And these laws might be passed by the parliament, or some laws might be passed by the state legislature as well, if it is falling under the state list. Next is that legal process is dynamic. Whatever laws are laid down, whatever process is set, it's not like once something is established, it will apply for like years and years to come. Law is bound to undergo changes because of changes taking place in the society. Like if we take the example of Consumer Protection Act. Consumer Protection Act. This act was previously not covering e-commerce.
Yeah.
But now, because e-commerce is being so popular and people are also suffering while buying things online, right? They might not be happy with the service or the goods. So now Consumer Protection Act also covers e-commerce. That means it is a change that this legislation, Consumer Protection Act, has undergone. That indicates law is dynamic. It has to change with changing time of the society.
Okay. Like online education also now.
Yes. Yeah.
Education
Online
Act will cover that one.
Yes, education also is something which you can mention, right? So whatever new things are coming, for that, law also has to
Law
understand
has to change.
changes. Yeah, during COVID, there were certain guidelines being mentioned by Supreme Court that has to be followed for online hearing. So even though there was nationwide lockdown, it cannot happen that courts are also shut down for like years altogether. So online hearing had to be accepted. Those are again examples of this.
Okay.
Consequences on breach. So as I said, it will not make much sense that simply it is said that okay, don't kill people, don't do this, don't do that. It is a scene, right? Nowadays people would not be that much religious, right? Whatever they want to do, they would do. But how will laws be followed by people? It is only when we provide for consequences, only when punishment is being provided. That is also one of the reasons why you can say for certain crimes, like, do you know that suicide, like attempt to suicide, is also a crime in India?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so what is the punishment for that?
Attempt to suicide, I don't know the punishment. I think it is on based on the situation, they will decide the maximum punishment. I don't know how much it will be, because some how the person come to decide to commit suicide on humanitarian base also it will consider. I don't know. I think it will be case to case different.
Okay, yeah. So attempt to suicide, if the person dies, if it is successful attempt, then definitely we cannot do anything about it. But what if this attempt was unsuccessful? So for unsuccessful attempt, provision is mentioned under Indian Penal Code. Okay, so under Indian Penal Code, attempt to commit suicide is a punishable offense. Previously, it was like whatever is the situation, person would get punishment. Okay, for a term which may extend up to 1 year or with fine or with both. But then it was argued in too many cases that when will a person commit suicide? Only when he is like super depressed, he is not having any other alternative options, right? That means the person is already mentally in a very bad condition. On top of that, his attempt was unsuccessful. On top of that, if you are punishing, you are not doing any good for that person. Okay, so it was considered that it does not make sense to punish a person who attempted suicide and he was unsuccessful, but rather we should provide counseling to that person. We should help that person to like come back from that bad stage of his life and start his life again. So
yes,
like you said, it depends like case to case. Whenever it is a matter of attempt to suicide, court would see what was the reason of suicide. Was it like he was like the person was suffering? Was it like his own problems for which the person attempted suicide? If yes, the person would not be given punishment, rather counseling will be provided so that the person can again like come to a better stage of mind. But if it was like a random attempt, okay, nothing is happening bad in your life, you just attempted, like Irom Sharmila, are you aware of her?
Irom Sharmila, yeah, I heard, but
actually there is one law called Armed Forces Special Powers Act, okay, that is like a very bad law. That law is applicable in Manipur, and she is like protesting that this law should be removed. For that, she went for hunger strike for like years altogether, 16 years old fast. Okay, for 16 years, she was not eating anything. So she was like, I will die. Okay, in this hunger strike, I will die until and unless this law is not removed. Now, the question was, what is this law doing? This law is not doing any bad to you as such. It is bad for the entire society. Okay, so that means you do not have sufficient grounds to attempt suicide. So she was arrested multiple times. She was kept in prison. Also, punishment was also given. Why? Because she was not having a valid ground to attempt suicide. As such, she was not having any problem in her life. It was like a common problem, like any other people in Manipur are having. Okay, so that is why she was given this punishment under section 309. But if someone is suffering in real, that person would not be given punishment, but rather that person would be given counseling. So it is consequences of breach. Okay, what will happen in case we violate it? That again, like different provisions may be applied, may be applicable, and law will, like try to provide the best possible consequence which is needed, right, to ensure that people are not committing the crimes.
Okay.
Plus, it will also provide for dispute settlement mechanism. It's not enough that simply it says, okay, this is crime, this is wrong, this is right. No, we need proper mechanism also how we can settle the dispute. Like if you take the example of Motor Vehicles Act, if some accident takes place and people want to claim for compensation, there is actually a body established, Motor Accidents Claim Tribunal. They are looking into those matters only. We can approach that. There is one special body established for human rights, protection of human rights, National Human Rights Commission. There is one body for income tax matters, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Like that, for certain specified areas, specific bodies are also established, like National Green Tribunal for environment-related matters. Okay, so there are plenty of tribunals, boards, commissions, which are being set up to deal specifically with matters under their purview. All right. That again is like a feature that law is not just talking about rights and obligations, but it also provides for dispute settlement mechanism in certain situations. Law tries to bring orderly change in society. Whatever changes are needed, those also it will try. Like previously, it was not necessary to avoid, avoid groups of people coming together, assembly of people. It was not necessary to avoid that. It was not necessary to wear a mask, but it became necessary during COVID. So to bring orderly change in society, whatever is needed now, that for that a law will be introduced to ensure it is followed by people. Okay, so law will always try to bring the changes which we want. Like previously there were practices like sati, which is being removed with the help of a law. We are still fighting with issues like dowry. Then there are these proposed things that a marriageable age of girls will be increased from 18 to 21 years, so that girls are also getting education. Those are nothing but bringing orderly changes in society based on the present time, whatever is needed to bring those changes. We again take the help of law. That also is sort of a feature of law. And last but not the least, law guides the judges. When judges need to take a decision on a certain matter, they will take the help of law and they will be guided by those provisions, and they will give a decision, like the best possible decision in that given situation. So that these are like the essence or features of law that we can say in a broad way. Is this part clear?
Yeah, this is same like functions of law, almost similar.
Yeah,
no, right?
Similar. Functions of law, why is law necessary, essence of law, these are similar things only, from where just little bit they have changed the question.
Yeah, most of the points are similar to the functions of law. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Just the like framing of statement and things, little bit you can change, otherwise it's the same thing only.
Same thing. Okay, it's clear.
Yeah. All right. So from unit 1 is done. Unit 2, this one part is remaining. Do you want it to be done today or next?
It's fine if you can, if you have time, it's okay. I can.
Okay, so this concept is law as social engineering. Okay, this also is a theory, like I said, this one, right? Ideas of law. Different people have given different theories. This also is a theory which is given by Roscoe Pound. Okay, he says law as social engineering. Now, Roscoe Pound was an American jurist, botanist, educator, and chief advocate of sociological jurisprudence. The concept or the theories which he have given, it is called a sociological jurisprudence because he mainly focused on the society. Okay, his theory is mainly focused on the society, and based on that, he has developed his theory. Now, he was a leader in the reform of court and administration in the United States, and he gave his theory of interest, which is described as law of social engineering. Law as social engineering is also called as theory of interest. Okay, interest as in, like I said, right, we have our own interest, likes, dislikes, like that only. So he mainly said that, okay, fine, in a society, there will be a lot of people who will live together. Okay, so and human wants are always increasing, whether then or now. There are a lot of people living in a society. Plus, every people will have a lot of wants. Okay, it's not like something that they need. Okay, need and want is like different thing. Need is like food, clothing, shelter, education, and things like that, which you need. Want is like other things that you need, right? Maybe like to make your life comfortable and stuff. So he says that human wants are increasing. There is no limit to that, whether then or now it will be increasing. The necessity of balancing the human wants and welfare of the society has been realized. For welfare of the society, for people to live together harmoniously, it is very important that there is a balance among these human wants or needs that we have. Every human want cannot be fulfilled because already there are so many people living in the society. Everyone is having their different wants. Like I said, someone might want to party at night. Someone may want to study peacefully at night. It's not possible to satisfy want of both of these two persons. What can we do? We can try to balance these things out for welfare of the society. Otherwise, people cannot live peacefully. So that is very much needed. So he said it is definitely not like, it is not possible to fulfill want and desire of every people. These wants and desires are termed as interest. Okay, the interest that we have, that is why it is called as the interest theory or law as social engineering. Now, what is this theory of social engineering all about? Social engineering is called as engineering because Roscoe Pound compared the work of lawyers to engineers. Actually, the work of engineers is to produce finished products into the society, which is based on continuous experimentation and experience. In the same way, aim of social engineering is to build up society by satisfying maximum wants with minimum usage of resources. It involves balancing of competing interests. Just like how an engineer will develop like a finished product that will be very much useful for us. Like if someone is designing a vehicle or some other product a person is making, a lot of experimentation will go on. What is working out, what is not working out. After a lot of efforts, after a lot of balancing, finally a final product would be given. Same ways, lawyers also do the same thing. What they do is they try to balance out these interests. Okay, in a society, it is very much important that we realize all these human wants And then out of all these, we decide what all can be satisfied. Okay, we try to balance it out so that there is less conflict and people are able to live peacefully. And this balancing job is as difficult as the job performed by an engineer. And because this engineering is applied in a society, it is called as social engineering. Okay, the theory of social engineering or the theory of interest. This is clear, right? Why it is theory of interest and social engineering?
Yes, yes.
So the first word, social, which means a group of people forming a society. The second word states that engineers, to produce a finished goods based on continuous experimentation to get the finished product, means the instrument or device. He classified interest in 3 groups. So society, because it is with relation to society, a group of people, it is called as social. And because it is just like the job of engineers, it is called as engineering. Now, this theory is purely based on interest, and these interests are classified in 3 groups: private interest, public interest, and social interest. Private interest as in I want something. Okay, these interests might be purely based on my thing, like I want to listen to loud music at night. Public interest as in for the public it is good, might be public education. There might be some social interest which is good for the society, like vaccination, right? So we have a lot of different interests, and these interests might be conflicting. My private interest might be conflicting with the public interest.
Conflicting with the other. Yes.
Right? Or I might feel that, okay, fine, I don't have trust on vaccination, or I'm too afraid of needles, so I don't want to get vaccinated. That is my private interest. But that is conflicting with social interest, because if I'm not getting vaccinated, might be I will be spreading the disease further. Right? In that case, it is conflicting. Right? So same ways, there will be plenty of examples where these interests are conflicting with one another. And the purpose of this theory is that we need to balance out all these things. There cannot be an excuse that I'm afraid of vaccine, I'm afraid of needles, or I don't have trust on vaccination. It may be made compulsory that if you are living in India, you need to take vaccination. In that case, I don't have any other option. I will have to take. Okay, and same if other countries also do, I cannot go to any other country also, right? So where would I go if I cannot live in Earth? I will have to take vaccination. So that is what this theory is all about. Try to balance out this interest, because these will be conflicting with one another, because there are so many different interests which we have.
Okay.
So the main of social engineering is to build as efficient a structure of society as possible, which requires the satisfaction of maximum wants with minimum friction and waste. That means the aim of social engineering is to build efficient structure of the society. So law has to think about proper well-being of the society, like vaccination is needed in order to reduce the spread of COVID-19. In such cases, no one is going to entertain my private interest, my private want. Okay, so it requires satisfaction of maximum want. Again, it will think about maximum good. It will think about public health, health welfare of this entire country, and ignore my private interest. Why? With minimum friction, less number of conflict, and more number of satisfaction. That is what the concept is. This statement is very important. Maximum satisfaction of maximum want with minimum friction. And this can be done only with the help of balancing. And this balancing is as difficult as the job of engineers. That is what this theory is all about.
Okay, this is the keyword. Huh?
Yeah, this is the keyword basically.
Okay.
This also, balancing of competing interests. Okay, and how can we balance, or how can we say that we have properly balanced? Only when we are able to satisfy maximum wants with minimum friction. Okay, and in conclusion, you can write that law plays a vital role in the society. Like conclusions are like very generalized. You can write in your own ways also. Just that this theory you should understand. After that, you will be able to write. So you can say that law plays a very important role in adjusting conflict of interest. Both social and individual interests coexist. It cannot be that, okay, we don't have any social interest. They will coexist in a society. Both of them have the same equal priority. So Roscoe Pound has given the idea of social engineering. He was from America, so he gave his idea based on American society. But this concept is so, like it is applicable in other countries as well, because the formation of society is like similar only, right? So even if it was based on American society, this theory applies in other societies also perfectly. Even in India also, it is followed it for forming a social welfare. India is a welfare state. We think about maximum happiness of maximum people. Here also this theory applies properly. Both judiciary and legislative have played important role in making the fulfillment of various desires of human being. So for the new for these new policies, new strategies were applied and have been developed. So judiciary and legislature, they have constantly tried that whatever laws are passed, those should not be conflicting with interest. Like this farm bill, it should not be conflicting, right? Interest of all these farmers versus interest of the government, right? There were conflicting. Now we want to provide or satisfy maximum want with minimum friction. But in case of that law, what was happening? There was maximum friction and minimum satisfaction. Only government was happy, right? So that means this is not a proper way. We need to balance it out. That is why they said that, okay, fine, we are taking it back. That again is nothing but social engineering. Even though this was developed in America, we have seen the example being applied in India only, right? So this is how the theory is all about. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, fine. Then so I'll share this documents. You can just like these highlights.
Yeah, with the
The next question is, write a short note on law as social engineering. Say we have already discussed, right, that different people have different likes, dislikes, different opinions, right? You may feel that pink color is the best color, okay? I may feel that it's the worst color, right? What will happen is you can give your opinion. You can say why pink color is good. I can give my opinion why pink color is bad, right? Similarly, what happens in law also, right? There are different people who gave their opinions, and obviously different people will have different opinions, right? So those people are called as jurists, all right, who gave their opinion with regard to a certain thing. Okay, I may ask you, what is the function of law? You may feel that function of law is only to provide justice, but I may feel that function of law is to protect rights of people, right? Someone else may feel that function of law is to maintain order in society. That means all three of us are having different opinions, right? So if three of us put our point of view, that will be called as a theory, all right? We are giving a theory with regard to law. So there are basically different jurists who gave different opinions, and one such is law as social engineering. That means there was a jurist who considered law or the task of lawyers same like engineers, all right? So he said that law is what? Law is like social engineering. Who gave this concept? It was given by a jurist named Roscoe Pound, all right? Who is the jurist? Who is a jurist? A person who puts forward his opinion with regard to law, right? It may be how law originated, what is law, what are the functions of law. It can be anything, okay? So he gave one opinion with regard to what law is. So he said law is social engineering. Now we will see what is law is social engineering. there is a question, right? I think it was in one of your previous year question papers, this question came. Write a short
Yes, ma'am.
on law as social engineering, right? So here again, you can start with one introduction, right? You can start with one introduction because he is talking about society and relating law with society. We can say in introduction that human wants has been increasing always, whether then or now, right? It's not like today I want, maybe today I want a new phone, okay? Tomorrow when I buy a new phone, I will have another desire, right? I may want to buy new earphones also. Day after
Yes,
tomorrow, when I buy that, I will have again a new desire. So that is what is called as human want. Human want has been increasing always, whether then or now. Yesterday also you wanted something, today also you want something. 1 year before also you wanted something, today also you want something, right? That means human want is something that is increasing only. The necessity of balancing human wants and welfare of the society has been realized. That means everybody will have some or the other want, but we also want to uh, we want betterment of people in the society, right? That is called as welfare of the society, right? That means whoever is there in the society, we want that everyone is able to live peacefully, happily, and all that stuff, right? Like welfare. What is welfare? Betterment of people, right? So on one hand, human wants are increasing. On another side, we want to balance out welfare of the people, right? That means both these two things, we want to balance both these two things out. Human wants has been increasing always, then or now. Every human, right? So every human want cannot be fulfilled. It is impossible to fulfill all the human wants and desires. These wants or desires have been termed as interest. Now, whatever I want, whatever I desire, everything cannot be fulfilled by the society, right? There will be some restrictions, some reasonable restrictions will be there. I just cannot say whatever I want to say. I just cannot publish whatever I want to publish. There will be some reasonable restrictions. So these wants or desires that we have, these are called as interest, all right? That I may have interest to buy a mobile phone, all right? That is what I want, a new phone, that is called as interest. I have an interest to buy a new mobile phone, right? So what happens is human wants are increasing day by day, and there is a need that we balance human want with welfare of the society. That means just because I want to satisfy my want, other people in the society should not suffer, right? Both the two things should be balanced. And human want is considered as interest. Now, this theory is given by Roscoe Pound. Who is Roscoe Pound? Roscoe Pound was an American jurist, botanist, educator, and chief advocate of sociological jurisprudence. So there is a concept of sociological jurisprudence. He developed that concept. He was a leader of the reform of court and administration of United States. That means he gave his theory, he gave various point of opinion, and he tried to bring reform in courts of United States. He gave the theory of interest, which is called as the law, or which describes the law as social engineering. That means Roscoe Pound is the jurist who gave this theory of law as social engineering. All right. What is engineering basically? What engineers do?
They'll do all work, ma'am, like scientific, like softwares, there will be no one, they'll do that.
Software.
Like PhD, like that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So engineers will do many different kind of work, right? Depending on whether that person is a software engineer, civil engineer, what engineer, right? So social engineering has been termed as engineering because Pound compared the work of lawyers as that of engineers. That means what engineers will do, lawyers also do somewhat similar kind of work, right? So he compared work of lawyers as that of engineers. It's like almost they both do same kind of work as per Roscoe Pound, right? So actually the work of engineers is what? To produce finished products into the society which is based on continuous experiment and experience, right? An engineer may be there who has developed this phone. How he has developed this phone? With a lot of experimentation and experience, right? That person had 10 years of experience in developing a phone. He has put his experience here and he has tried, right? He has experimented what is working fine. And finally, he has developed this end product and given this to me, right? Similarly, if you are using WhatsApp, someone has developed WhatsApp, they are continuously trying to improve it also, right? There will be updates that keep on coming. Why? Because they are improving it, right? So those are work of engineers. If you are using a laptop, that laptop is also developed by an engineer. You would get updates very often, right? So all those things are what done by engineers, where they try to give finished products to us with their experience and experimentation, right? They would work day and night and give us finished products that is so easy to use, right? In seconds, we can message and talk to each other, right? In the same way, what happens? The aim of social engineering is what? To build up the society by satisfying maximum wants with minimum usage of resources. That means same like engineers do, what lawyers will do, lawyers will try to give as much as they can satisfy your interest, right? You will have lot many interests. How much ever they can give, they will try to give you with using minimum resources, right? What is resources basically? Resources may be anything that is needed, right? It may be police officers, lawyers, it may be some other people, whatever limited effort they would put, and they would try to satisfy maximum, right? Most of your interest. That is how function of lawyers is similar to that of engineers, right? Where they will try to satisfy needs of people. It involves balancing of competing interests. What is competing interest? At night, you want to play loud music, you want to dance. But after 10 o'clock, I want to sleep. That means what? There is competing interest, right? Your interest is different, my interest is different. They will have to balance out these two interests. Why? Because we both live in the same society. So they will say that, yes, you can play loud music, you can dance, no problem with that, but you need to reduce your volume a little bit, right? And they will tell me that you want to sleep, you sleep, there is no harm in that, but it will not be like pin drop silence just because you are sleeping. People will make some reasonable amount of noise, right? That means what? They are balancing out these two competing interests, right? You had a different interest, I had a different interest, but we need to live in the same society, so they will try to balance out these two interests, right? That is what social engineering is. Just like how engineers would try to balance, right? What is the color theme that is suiting? On WhatsApp, you would see there are different themes that you can apply. Status, you can do this, that, so many things are there, right? Same like that only, lawyers should also try to balance out different conflicting interests of people. Okay, this is clear, right? I guess. So that is why lawyers' task is compared to that of engineers. All right.
Yes.
The first word social, which means a group of people forming a society, right? What is society? There is a group of people who are living together like a society. The second word states that engineers to produce finished good based on continuous experiment and experimentation to get the finished product by means of an instrument or device. We classified interest into two. That means people will live in a society, and in that society, lawyers will have to balance out different types of interest. And interests are divided into three different types. What are these three different types? There are three different types of interests that people may have in a society, right? And these three different interests, lawyers would try to balance out. All right. So what are these three different interests? Public,
Private, public, social.
yes, private, public, and social. What is private interest? Maybe I want uh, freedom of expression, right? Freedom of belief or opinion. I want to have my own opinion, right? then with regard to whom I want to marry, right? How many children I want. All those are what? All those are my private interests, right? Society has nothing to do with those interests. Then there will be something called as public interest. What is public interest? Interest of this, maybe what are the rights that I want to enjoy in a society? What are the things that I expect from the society? All those will be public interest. What is social interest? Maybe how resources will be utilized by society, regarding what are the different institutions that we will have in the society, like there will be public library, public parks, right, which will be accessible to all those are social interests. Okay, so there has to be a balance between all these three different types of interest in the society: private, public, and social interest. All right, and the main task of lawyers is to balance out all these three different interests. So the aim of social engineering is what? Is to build as efficient a structure of society as possible. That means structure of the society should be as efficient as they can build, which requires satisfaction of maximum wants with minimum friction and waste. That means whatever private, public, and social interest you have, lawyers will try to fulfill those interests, but with minimum friction and minimum waste. That means there should not be clash of interest between you and me, right? They would try to balance out. Just like I told you, right? You play music, but you reduce the volume a little bit. I want to sleep, you sleep, but it will not be pin drop silence, right? You need to adjust a little bit. Both of us will adjust a little bit, and accordingly we will try to balance out our interest. So that is why it is compared to engineering. How engineers will do continuous experiment, experience, and all that stuff, lawyers also do more or less same kind of a job, where they will try to balance it out. All right, different interest of individuals.
Okay, ma'am.
Then you can give one conclusion that it is concluded that law plays a very important role in adjusting conflict of interest. For sure, there is going to be conflict of interest between people, right? Because we all have different opinion, likes, dislikes. So there will for sure be conflict of interest, but law will play a very important role in minimizing those conflict of interest. Both the social and individual interests coexist, right? My interest as well as society's interest, everything will be present, right? There will not be a person who will not have any interest, any want or wish. Everyone will have their own wishes, aspirations, opinion, and everything. But main aim of lawyers is to balance out all those three different things, right? Three different things should exist at the same time in the society. Both of them have same equal priority. Roscoe Pound has given the idea of social engineering for American society, but it has been followed worldwide, right? He was an American jurist, so based on their system, he gave this concept, but it's more or less applicable, similarly applicable for other society also, because in any society, people will have their personal interest, public interest, and social interest. Even India has also followed it in forming a forming a social welfare. Both judiciary and legislatives play important role in making the fulfillment of various desires of human beings. So far, these new policies, new strategies are applied and have been developed. Right, in India also we see there are different legislations, all right, different laws would come. Take for example, during COVID, yes, you need to stay inside your house, but if there is an emergency, you go out. But while going out, you need to wear a mask. You need to properly sanitize your hands. That means what? They are trying to balance out social interest and your private interest, right? You want to go out to buy medicine or to buy food. You go out, but you cannot affect interest of the society, right? You cannot put the society at risk. You need to wear a mask. You need to sanitize your hands. That means what? They are doing nothing but trying to balance out interest of people only, right? So these real life examples only you can relate, right? There will be, if you are crossing by like a high court or hospital or a school, college, right? You would see most of the times they would put a signboard, no horn please. All right, why they do that? Because if you are crossing by a hospital or a college or university, yes, you have the right to use this public road. You can definitely drive there, right there, but you cannot pollute the environment. You cannot disturb the patients in the hospital or the doctors or other stuff. You cannot disturb the students studying in the college. You cannot disturb the court in functioning, right? So you will see when you cross by a hospital, college, university, or even courts, you will mostly see it will be mentioned no horn please. Why? Because you have your own interest. You can drive, you can use the road, but at the same time, you cannot violate interest of those people inside the hospital or those students inside the college or university, right? So it's nothing but social engineering only, right? That legislators have tried to frame laws in such a way that everyone can enjoy their rights or interests to the maximum, right? With very less of conflict or clash between people. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you finding it something like not relatable?
No, ma'am. I'm understanding.
Right?
Yes,
Another question that we have is discuss the relationship between legal rules and society. So man is a social animal. He loves to live in a society with other human beings. However, due to differences in interest, opinion, behavior, there may be disputes and conflicts amongst people. This is the reason why we need legal rules to be able to live peacefully in the society. Like last class, we saw different functions of law. Just because law is there, we are not doing certain types of things. We know how to regulate human behavior and so many other, right? So it's because of legal rules that we are able to live peacefully in a society. Legal rules are nothing but set of rules and regulations that members of the society need to abide by and will be liable to face consequences in case of breach. So if there is a law called Indian Contract Act, which says if you are entering into contract with someone, you need to abide by the promises. If you don't, you will face the consequences. In that case, we will be bound to abide by that, right? So that we can live peacefully. If I am violating the rules, I would be liable. If someone else is violating, I would have that peace at least that, okay, this person also would be liable. Legal rules are nothing but set of rules and regulations that we abide by, otherwise we will face the consequences for breach. Whatever legislation you look at, okay, you would always see it talks about consequences also. It would not simply say that don't commit murder because it is very bad. Don't cause harm to another person because it is very bad. No, because people would not listen to this is very bad. Right? What they would mention is they would mention the consequences. If this is very bad, you should not do it. If you do, this is the consequence. You would face this much of punishment. This would be the fine, this many years of imprisonment, right? Everything is clearly mentioned. Whatever law you take into consideration, it talks about consequences as well. So that is why it is very important. Now, what is the relation between legal rules in society? When we have, this is also sort of similar to the other question that we have seen, right? Functions of law. Because it performs a lot of functions, legal rules in society, they coexist, right? Both are very much needed. In a society, rules, regulations are very much needed. Why needed? Because we would be able to live peacefully in the society, right? Maintain order in the society. Correct. So if I am bound to pay income tax, it's not just that I am paying income tax, right? I would also know that others are also paying income tax who are in that same position. Maintenance of order in the society. Everyone is following the same rules and regulations, right? If you are paying property tax, others are also paying property tax who are in the same position. Protection of fundamental rights and statutory rights. if my rights are being violated, there would be consequences for breach, like you said, murder, death penalty, life imprisonment, 10 years of imprisonment. So many provisions are there, right? There would be consequences, and I know that I would probably be able to enjoy my rights, because otherwise this person is going to face the consequences. Maybe he would go to the jail or death penalty, right? Fine may be imposed. I would be happy in that case. That's how also these are related. Bring orderly change and social reform. We have already discussed these points, right? Deliver justice. It provides justice if something happens, right? Nirbhaya gang rape case of Delhi, if you remember. Once the incident happened, everyone started protesting. So it's with the help of legal rules only that justice was delivered, right? All the culprits were given death penalty except for the juvenile who was involved in it. So it, by way of legal rules, it provided or it delivered justice in that case. That is how, again, it is related to the society. Control political system, protection of minorities against majorities, because again, the society or the country is run by political system. It's very much important that they follow proper rules and regulations, right? If there are some members of parliament sitting in legislature, it should not happen that whatever legislation they want, they would simply introduce. There is a process that they need to follow, right? They need to take approval and everything. So they will follow that proper process. After that, only a law will be introduced. We can make changes in the constitution, right? All those things would happen in its proper order.
So it's similar to the functions of law, a little similar to the functions of law.
Similar only, just writing style is here and there a bit different. Otherwise, points are same only, right? This is how it is related, basically. Regulating trade, business, etc. So it's again our relation with the society. If I need to appear bar council exam to practice, same ways you would also need to appear for that, right? Exam also would be same pattern, everything would be same. Regulating economic activities, whatever GST, other things I am paying, you would also need to pay that. If I am taking some services, I'm paying the tax for that. If you are taking those same services, you would also be bound to do that. It regulates human relations. That's how also in the society, legal rules are very much needed. We follow those legal rules to ensure how our relationships in the society would work, right? If someone wants to adopt a child, he cannot simply go and be like, okay, come, from today, you would be my daughter or son. There is a proper process that needs to be followed, right? So that's also how we relate in the society. Resolving dispute, establishing standards, all these are again relevant here, right? That it is by way of legal rules. For every single thing, there is a rule. In fact, there is a legislation on birth and death registration act. If there is a delay, okay, like too much delay, I think some 3 months or 6 months, if there is too much of delay in applying for the birth or death registration certificate, there you need to take an approval from the court. Okay, I'll just show you birth and death. There is one section 13. Okay, if you look at section 13 of Birth and Death Registration Act, see it says if after expiry of 30 days from its occurrence shall be registered with payment of late fee. If you are late, okay, by after 1 month, if you are applying, you need to pay late fee to get the birth or death registered. If there is delay, okay, after the expiry of 30 days you are going, but within 1 year from its occurrence, then you need to take permission. You need to pay some fee and then you need to do it. If not has been after 1 year, if you are going, okay, then what happens, you cannot directly apply for it. Otherwise, for birth and death, there would be some state government offices where you need to go. But if there is a delay of beyond 1 year, you cannot directly go. You need to file an application to the court, you need to ask for court, that court would pass an order and ask this registrar that, okay, fine, there are valid reasons, registered this certain death or birth. Okay, so that means these are, again, we have rules or laws for every single thing that you name it, right? So this is again how legal rules and society both are related, that we want to do everything in like a proper organized way. That's why you would see everywhere time and all these things would be properly mentioned. When you read the legislation, everything is clearly mentioned, so that it's the same rule that applies for all of us. Not like I am following something, for you rules would be different, for another one it would be different, right? So that is also how we need these rules to be there. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we do one more topic?
Yeah, ma'am, sure.
So otherwise, what happens is, we know the regular court process, right? Party would go to the court, case would go on for years, and after that matter would be decided by the court, right? Court would hear both the sides, evidences would be taken, witnesses would come. After that, court would decide the matter. So that is the usual process. But apart from that usual process where there is like a bit of delay, for many days case would go on, we have some alternate ways of resolving dispute also. Okay, so in functions of law, we have studied that law helps to resolve dispute between parties. If there is a dispute, law would help you to solve that. Now, in solving that dispute, we can go to the regular courts, or we have an alternate way as well. So this is nothing but alternate way of solving a dispute, and one of the examples is arbitration. So
Can you
because,
give me some?
Sorry?
Can you give some other example, please?
Arbitration? For which one you want another example?
Like for this?
Arbitration.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm giving. We are into this topic, right? So I'm good. See, we have already studied in functions of law that disputes are bound to arise because we have so many people living in one society. We have differences in our interests, opinions, etc. So disputes are definitely unavoidable because we have different needs, wants, values, views, etc. Law provides a formal means for resolving disputes, that is the court system. If there is any kind of dispute, maybe violation of a contract, breach of a contract, we would go to court. If there is any question relating to validity of marriage, we would go to the court. If parties want to get divorced, they would go to the court. Regarding child custody, regarding adoption, regarding every single thing, they would go to the court in order to solve the dispute between them. But apart from going to the court, which is like the traditional way of solving a dispute, we have some alternate ways also, because there are not many cases increasing. Courts are overburdened, cases go on for years and years. That is why there are some alternate ways, some different ways. Other than going to the court, there are some different ways of resolving dispute that has developed. And arbitration is one such example. What is arbitration? Arbitration is the process of solving an argument between people by helping them to agree to an acceptable solution. As in, it's not like court would decide that, okay, you were right, you were wrong, so you paid this much of compensation, you would suffer. Not like that. But what would happen is, there would be one arbitrator who will bring both the parties together. You will say that, okay, what are the differences? Are there anything where you can sacrifice? Are there anything where you can sacrifice, right? Both the parties would try to compromise. right? The party would say that, okay, fine, these things I can compromise. This one would say, okay, these things I can compromise. So together, right, they would try to figure out a solution, and that's how they would resolve the dispute. So it is solving an argument between people by helping them to agree to an acceptable solution. What is it that you can agree? What is it that this person can agree? Then both of you would enter into an arbitration agreement. Okay, so arbitration is nothing but a part of alternative dispute resolution or ADR mechanism that benefits parties who want to avoid the normal lengthy recourse to the local courts in settlement of dispute, because cases go on for 5, 6, 10, 15 years. So they need to go to the court for every hearing. They need to pay fees to the advocates, right? A lot of processes being involved. So rather than wasting your time, energy, and money, you have some alternate ways of resolving dispute. It is a legal technique for the resolution of dispute outside the courts, wherein parties to a dispute refer it to one or more persons, namely arbitrators. So there would be arbitrators who will help the parties in solving the dispute. The Indian law with respect to arbitration is largely based on English common law, and we have a legislation also named as Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. But then what are the advantages of arbitration? I'll give you first an example of what an arbitration is so that you understand. Okay.
Okay.
Take, for example, there is a contract between two companies. Okay, there is a contract between two companies. Now, based on the contract, company A promised to supply maybe, right? A company is there. A company promised to supply goods at ₹5 to B every single month. Okay, every single month for 24 months. Okay, and this A company was able to get those goods for maybe ₹3. So they said that, okay, fine, we would be supplying it to you for ₹5. And this would happen for 24 months, same price we would charge. And this was the contract. But now, because of COVID, in transportation and everything, they need to do a lot of, maybe like sanitizing the things, so many procedures, SOPs and everything. So what happened is cost has increased. Now A is getting it for ₹6. Okay, that same goods, now A needs to buy it for ₹6. So when he would be giving it to B, he cannot give it for ₹5, right? Because it's practically not possible. He would be in loss while supplying that. Right, so A is giving it for it is having for ₹6. So he said that I cannot give it to you. I would charge at least ₹7 or ₹8. ₹7 or ₹8 I would charge, otherwise I cannot give you. Now in this case, what B can do is B can go to the regular courts, right? And he can file a case for breach of contractual terms. That A made a promise that for 24 months, he would not increase the price. For ₹5 only, he would be selling it, but now he is not following the terms. He is charging ₹7 or ₹8. When he goes to the court, what would happen is this case may go on for 3 years, 5 years, or even 10 years, right? It would involve a lot of time until and unless court has given a decision. What about this supply? B would not supply, A would not supply, right? B would anyways be suffering. B would be waiting for it because he thought that for 24 months it would be supplied. So if the case only goes on for beyond 24 months, after that court gives an order after 10 years, that might become meaningless. Plus, while filing this case and everything, B will have to hire a lawyer, go to the court for hearing. It would be unnecessarily waste of time for him because he is doing some business, right? Both of them are two companies. They don't want to waste their time in those things. So what they can do is, B would also understand, right? That, okay, fine, this person only is not able to get it in 5 rupees. How would he give me? Right? So maybe this person was charging, he was saying that, okay, 9 rupees I would give. Because I'm getting it for 6 rupees, I would supply in 9 rupees. So in that case, rather than going to the court, waiting for years, both A and B can go to an arbitrator. Their arbitrator would ask them that, okay, what is the problem? And then they would explain, this is the situation. So arbitrator would help them to come to a settlement. To A, arbitrator may say that, okay, fine, you are getting it for 6 rupees now, fine. Why don't you give it for 7 rupees? Or why don't you give it for 8 rupees? Because you already entered into the contract, right? So 1 rupee you take profit and give it for 7 rupees. To B also, arbitrator may say that, what is the problem? You are getting it for 5 rupees. You can pay 7 rupees, only 2 rupees extra, right? So both the parties may agree also, okay, fine. 7 rupees I can pay or 7 rupees I can supply. This is nothing but both of them have sacrificed on their claims, right? They have tried to come to a settlement, come to a compromise. Like both of them would try to figure out a solution so that it happens very quickly. And based on whatever were the agreements between them, an award would be passed. Like it would be written, both the parties would put their signature and it will be binding on them just like a contract. So here what is happening is, time is also saved, money is also saved, plus they are able to settle the dispute, right? They would be able to get the supply thing done rather than waiting for 10 years. Right? So this is how an arbitration works, that rather than going to the court, you have alternate ways of resolving dispute. And arbitration is some example of that. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we would see what are the advantages of arbitration. Minimization or minimalization of court intervention. For every single thing, you may not need to go to the regular courts, right? We are trying to reduce intervention from the part of court. Reduction in cost of dispute redressal and resolution. You don't need to hire a lawyer. You don't need to go on for, like years and years and everything. This is nothing but reduction in cost and dispute resolution. Expeditious and timely disposal. On time, you were able to solve the dispute, right? You were able to come to a settlement. Enforcement of awards through neutrality of arbitrator. Whoever is the arbitrator, he would not be biased. He would be a neutral person who would not think about A's benefit or B's benefit, but he would be someone not related to the matter as such, right? So he will help the parties that, okay, you also sacrifice something, you also sacrifice something, and just settle the matter, right? So he would be a neutral person who will simply help them to come to a conclusion. Reduces burden of regular courts. Already these courts are overburdened, so you are again not filing a case and burdening them, but rather you are trying to solve the dispute by way of alternate ways of resolving dispute, right? So that's how they are having multiple advantages. And most of the times you would see companies and all, right, they would prefer arbitration if there is any kind of breach or conflict arising in relation to a contract, because there are multiple contracts that they enter into, right? They cannot have like thousands and thousands of cases pending for years and years. So they would try to settle the matter like this. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, fine. Okay, fine. So fine, and we'll end this class here. Okay, we will continue with the remaining topics in the next class.